The first images of life on an alien world? Cloud-topped mountains? Verdant peaks and fertile valleys? The Mars rover, Curiosity, has been searching for similar signs of alien life for several months. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. NASA needn't have gone so far. I found these alien life forms in my fridge. What you're actually looking at is the surface of a mouldy piece of cheddar cheese. Although it had only the smallest of specks of mould when I discovered it in the fridge, a few days sitting on my desk allowed it to blossom. It's mould. Remember that this is British English. The Americans spell it mould. Sensible Americans. You might have noticed that mould has the same letter combination as the words would, should, and could. But it's pronounced mould, not mud. The American mould is spelt like cold, fold, hold, sold, and told. So it makes more sense to spell it the American way. For now, the British English spelling will continue to confuse both spellers and speakers alike. Add er to mould, and we get the verb to moulder, which means to become mouldy. This cheese is mouldering. Don't be deceived by this apparent simplicity in adding an er. Add er to should, and we don't get shoulda, we get shoulder, which is a noun, not a verb. And if you do hear someone say shoulda, they mean should have. I should have kissed her. Isn't English wonderful? I shudder to think how confusing this is for the average student of English. To shudder to think means that something is so horrible to think about that it makes one shake with fear. Now, this cheese is mouldier than anything I would eat. It might be the mouldiest cheese I've ever seen. And you can't smell the cheese. Perhaps one day YouTube will invent smell-o-vision. For now, you just have to take my word for it that this mouldy cheese stinks. Nobody in their right mind would eat mouldy cheese, would they? But when you think of it, some cheeses depend on being mouldy for their flavour. Good moulds grow in cheeses like Stilton, which is a famous, smelly and mouldy English cheese. There are varying degrees of mouldiness too. Some cheeses are mouldy, some are mouldier still, and some are the mouldiest you can imagine. I wonder if the mould on this cheese tastes good. Perhaps I've invented a new type of cheese that could make me rich. No, I think I'll stay poor, and I won't take the risk. The antibiotic penicillin is a type of mould. Did you know that? It was discovered by Alexander Fleming on September the 28th, 1928. He noticed that a dish had gone mouldy in his laboratory, just like my cheese. His mould had killed dangerous bacteria that was growing in the dish. Fleming cultured the penicillium mould and called the active ingredient mould juice. Fortunately for sales of his new product, on the 7th of March 1929, Fleming changed the name of his mould juice to penicillin. The first antibiotic had been discovered. It doesn't look as if the mould on my cheese is going to be as world-changing as Fleming's mould. Mine is just a group of ordinary fungi, the spores of which are floating all around us. When the spores land on something tasty, like cheddar cheese, they begin to grow. They spread by way of these tiny filaments called hyphae. Lots of these filaments together make up a mycelium. Those are the fluffy patches that we recognize as mould. We've evolved to dislike the colours produced by different types of mycelium, as well as finding the stench of mould disgusting. Because we don't like the colours or the smell, we avoid eating things that have become mouldy, and thus avoid becoming ill. I decided to break the mould and do this video a little differently from the ones I've done before. There are other meanings of the word mould, and you can find details by visiting the lesson page at linguaspectrum.com. There you'll find a fresh new lesson with interactive quiz that will fully explore the different meanings of the word mould. There's a full typescript too, as well as an MP3 podcast for you to take with you wherever you may go. You'll learn about expressions like break the mould and to be cast in the same mould. I hope to see you at linguaspectrum.com soon. To end this video, I thought that if the Curiosity rover does actually find life on Mars, it might not look too different to this mould. A case of take me to your Leerdammer, perhaps. If you don't find that funny, find out why it is funny at linguaspectrum.com. And do me a favour and share this with your friends. If you like it, they will too.